No promotion. Come on, pay more.
Good afternoon, members of the press. We are here as members of Parliament, both the National Assembly as well as the Senate, on a very grave matter or issue. I'm sure you are aware of the abduction and torture of one Dennis Itumbi. And I'll go ahead and start with the statement from the group, and then we'll go ahead and have the other members give their input. Okay, statement on Dennis Itumbi by members of Parliament, as I've said. On the 23rd of December 2021, which is yesterday at around 2:50 p.m., Dennis Itumbi was abducted as he left a barbershop in Idigwa. Eyewitnesses reported that 3 men violently accosted Itumbi and swiftly forced him into a Toyota Premier Saloon car, KBL 455S. Police officers who had been arresting members of the public for not wearing masks stopped their action and rounded up citizens as soon as Itumbi was abducted. Someone at the barber shop had the presence of mind to find the cell phone number of Mr. Josiah Murigo, a close associate of Mr. Itumbi, and reported the abduction. Murigo quickly alerted Itumbi's colleagues and family, who mobilized and reported the matter to the Digwa Police Post by OP 10/23/12/2021 at 15:40 hours. As such effort proceeded, one tip-off indicated that Itumbi had been taken to Parklands Police Station under arrest, but it turned out to be false. The triangulation of Itumbi's mobile phone signal tracked it to Kigwa Ridgeways, but he was not found there. The Hustler Nation therefore raised a hue and cry, following with thousands of Kenyans accordingly mobilized and did their part in searching for Itumbi and bringing his abduction to the attention of the media and of the government. For many terrifying hours, no one had any clue on Itumbi's whereabouts. At 11:22 p.m., David Itumbi, brother to Dennis Itumbi, received a call from a number belonging to a Mr. Makoka, a taxi driver who had found Itumbi limping in the Lucky Summer area near Kasarani Stadium. Itumbi was severely injured and in great pain, having been tortured at length as his abductors drove him around the city. He was eventually thrown out of the vehicle into a thicket and left for dead. He managed to crawl to the nearest road, where he sought help from Boda riders, and this is where Mr. Makoha recognized him and offered to help. A passing taxi driver recognized Itumbi in the state and found warm clothes for him, after which he was taken to the Ruaraka Uhai Neema Hospital in Kasarani for emergency first aid. Thereafter, Itumbi was evacuated to the Nairobi West Hospital, where he is admitted for further treatment. He has suffered extensive torture, including repeatedly battery of his limbs with a hammer, and sustained soft tissue injuries as well as fractures. A comprehensive medical report following a full examination of his injuries will be shared in due course. Itumbi has confirmed that his abductors took turns to beat him, while warning him that the torture was revenge for his social media coverage of CS Fred Batiangi, PS Karanja Kibicho, the Inspector General of the Police Service Hilary Mutiambai, and DCI George Kinoti. They also questioned him on a post he made on Saturday, 18th December 2021 on formation of a KRA team led by Sami Mushemi, ostensibly to harass business people associated with Deputy President William Ruto. In particular, the abductors, torturers emphatically demanded that Itumbi stop discussing Mr. David Mwendwa, son of the Inspector General of the National Police Service, who is under investigation following a road accident that claimed the lives of 2 border riders. The criminal squad handcuffed him from behind and tied his legs with a rope. They told him he knew why they were arresting him upon his inquiry and added he will know more when he would be interrogated by the boss who he must support. On saying he would rather die than support anyone's cause by coercion, that is when the beatings and torture started. We thank the border riders who first responded to Itumbi's distress with empathy and urgency, and the taxi driver who acted with selflessness and compassion, as well as the medics at Ruaraka, Uhai, Neema, and Nairobi West Hospital who have treated Itumbi. We note that following Itumbi's abduction, a campaign of misinformation intensified by individuals and bloggers who do bidding for the police and office of the president, which made it extremely difficult to find Itumbi, affording the criminals ample time to perform their heinous acts. It is clear from the intensity of this disinformation that Itumbi's abduction and torture was orchestrated and resourced from highest placed quarters. It is a matter of tremendous sorrow for us to witness the return of the horrors of the darkest point of Kenya's autocratic regime, which we believed to be gone for good. It is important to note that abductions, arbitrary detention, torture, and other forms of state-sponsored terror and harassment have made their big comeback. We condemn this policy of backsliding into retrogressive, savage, and intolerable political and administrative measures. We are not going back there. We ask the president to call his security apparatus to order and desist from the temptation to indulge in bloodthirsty and repressive violations of human rights and fundamental freedoms. As an essential characteristic of his legacy, the president must strive to live by his oath of office to defend, protect, and observe the Constitution and do justice to all Kenyans without fear, favor, malice, or ill will. We demand impartial and independent investigation and the president to constitute a commission of inquiry into the existence of a criminal squad targeting political players. We thank Kenyans at large, especially on social media and the mainstream media. They saved Itumbi's life. And we cannot forget the patriotic officers who provided vital information that Itumbi was in the hands of a criminal undercover hit squad and advised that Kenyans pile pressure, failure to which he would be killed before daybreak this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The statement which has been read is a representation of the facts as it happened yesterday. I am here to just emphasize 2 or 3 things. One is to thank the police officers who helped us get information. As you may have followed yesterday, most of you in the media and Kenyans, most of the, immediately Mr. Itumbi was abducted, the abductors used the agents in social media. Some are lawyers, some are professionals who pride themselves that they are journalists, among others, to spread misinformation as to the whereabouts of Mr. Itumbi. As a result, the abductors got time to go around the city, different places, torturing Mr. Dennis Itumbi. Luckily, we have Kenyans in the police service who are still patriotic, who gave us information that even at the point in which they were telling us, we thought it was not true, but ended up being true. That one, Mr. Dennis Itumbi was not in any police station, and two, that his life was in danger if Kenyans of goodwill were not going to make the necessary noise. Luckily also, the information leaked to the torture squad that there was already a hue and cry, but that's not even the only reason, that there are some people in the police service who are willing to reveal the identity of the police officers had they killed Mr. Dennis Itumbi. I speak with a lot of conviction because I lost an officer in my office 2 years ago who was abducted in the same manner during the day by the same type of police officers and was found killed within 24 hours. As a friend of Dennis Itumbi, I was in great fear last night. I was actually just praying that Dennis Itumbi be found. And because of those police officers who are willing to reveal the identity of their colleagues and who are willing to tell us what was going on, and we want to thank them profusely, and we are eternally grateful. And when time comes, those are the men and women of this country that we believe should be rewarded for good service, for still being good people, despite the fact that their seniors would like to misuse them. Number two, I'd like to also thank Kenyans of goodwill in their numbers, both who support the Hustler Nation and those who are our political competitors, who on social media condemned what happened to Dennis Itumbi. I know for sure that a few of them were being used to sanitize what's happening, but many Kenyans on both sides of the political divide stood firm, and I've seen them, I've seen their statements, and they have said in one voice that torture, forced disappearance, all these kind of political machinations that are being used at the moment is not supposed to be happening in the Kenya of 21st century. And I want to thank Kenyans of both sides of the political divide. To the few who are still working with the hit squad and the team that is basically fighting people who have a different political opinion, this is the message I have for them. First, that it doesn't serve any good. Anything that was wrong yesterday is wrong today. I know a few friends who are a bit excited because they have got an opportunity to work with this administration, and they feel like they have forgotten what happened to Msando, Baby Pendo, they have forgotten what happened to Robert Ouko, and suddenly now they are the greatest cheerleaders for torture, for harassment, for political machinations that are taking place now. I want to tell them that please, they should come back to their senses and realize that whatever is wrong today is wrong tomorrow, was wrong yesterday, and we must build a country that is respecting rule of law. The third and final thing is that we want to tell the IG that he has the constitutional responsibility over the officers and the team that has been formed to torture political opponents of those who are currently pretending to be in power. And IG Mutyambai's term is coming to an end before even ours comes to an end, and which is before August next year. So I want to remind him that if he wants to have a good retirement, together with Matiang'i and Kibicho, and I want to tell Matiang'i and Kibicho, even the people you are trying to support, they become president of Kenya. If they were to become the president of Kenya, they were the first ones to torture you. So just remember that you will be out of office in August 2022. It doesn't matter who wins the elections. And remember that if the same things you are doing is going to be applied on you, you will suffer more than Dennis Itumbi. And therefore, they must stop the hit squad because it's still existing, still there for intimidation. The last thing I want to say is that KRA Director General and the military for this country must not accept to come and play political games on people of Kenya. Because Mr. Itumbi was being asked about some questions regarding an officer, as we've written in this statement, working with KRA, why he exposed the team that is working with KRA to punish people who support the DP William Ruto and the Hustler Nation and take them to court. These are things that we are saying, they are not good today, they were not good yesterday, they are not good tomorrow. And it's important for public officers to know, and for avoidance of doubt, I want to tell Mr. Fred Matiang'i, Mr. Kibicho, Mr. Mutiambai, Mr. Mushemi, yeah, and Mr. Kinoti, and all these other Kenyans who are being misused today, that when President Uhuru Kenyatta goes home on September 9, on August 9, 2022, you will be left alone to answer questions before competent court of law. The last thing is that we have agreed we are going to write to the Special Rapporteur of the United Nations on torture, on the situations, forced disappearance, torture, and political persecution that is going on in the country. And we believe that the international community must concern itself with what's happening in Kenya, because what is unjust here is unjust all over the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just had two things, and first received greetings from Dennis Itumbi. I was with him until 4:30 a.m. this morning, and he asked me if I get an opportunity to relay a message to Kenyans of goodwill, wish them a Merry Christmas, as much as he'll be spending his in hospital, but he's thankful that at least he is alive, further from the imaginations and the plans of those who planned to assassinate him the night preceding today. He also asked me to tell Kenyans that his spirit is unbroken, and the Hustler Nation remains as strong as it was before his abduction. And to his abductors, he prays for them, he wishes them well, and prays for their salvation, but has a message to them that if they thought they are breaking him, or if they thought they will stop him from doing what he does best, then they're in for a very rude shock. He's unbroken, and he will not stop what he does. He will continue to do what he does best. Two, we have seen the statement by the police spokesman. And ours is a very simple message to IG Mutiambai and his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta. President Uhuru Kenyatta is the commander-in-chief of all our defense forces and armed forces, including the police force. And he's the one person who has sworn with a Bible in his right hand to protect the lives and property of Kenyans. We want to tell President Uhuru Kenyatta, it is not just the life of Dennis Itumbi, the lives of Kenyans. If any Kenyan falls to this criminal hit squad operating within the police, illegally operating within the police force, under Mutiambai, the blood of such a Kenyan will be squarely on the hands of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And therefore, he has a greater responsibility, more than any other Kenyan, more than Mutiambai, more than Kibisho, more than Matiang'i, more than those other officers. He is the appointing authority of all these officers, including the cabinet secretaries. And therefore, the buck stops at the desk of President Uhuru Kenyatta to see to it that any criminal hit squads that have been formed within the state are quashed and brought to an end. We want our president, because we elected him on a platform of respecting human rights, respecting and upholding the lives of Kenyans, to live true to the oath of office that he took, that he will respect and he will protect not just the Constitution, but the lives of Kenyans, including Dennis Itumbi. Lastly, let me also take this opportunity to thank the very patriotic officers, because as Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen has said, very many patriotic officers offered us information yesterday and told us to continue piling pressure, and we must thank the media, the mainstream media. We thank the media because all our mainstream media stations carried the news of the disappearance of Dennis Itumbi last night at 9 p.m. and that is what saved, together with the pressure on social media, that is what saved Dennis Itumbi's life from his abductors. And let me finish by saying, Dennis is unbroken, the Hustler Nation spirit is unbroken, and we want to tell the state, we shall not be coerced to support any state projects, not by threats to our lives, not by threats to violence. Nothing will break the Hustler Nation. Acha nimalizie hapo.
Basi nasikia yale wenzangu wamezungumza, nataka pia niongezee kidogo katika Kiswahili ndio wale wa mama ama wazee wako nyumbani waweze kuelewa ni nini tunachozungumzia. Mimi na Wakenya wote walisherehekea siku ya Jamhuri tarehe 12 mwezi huu. Na hiyo jamhuri ililetwa na vita zile ndugu zetu walipigania ili sisi wenyewe tuweze kujilinda na tuweze kujiongoza. Na hiyo nafasi tulipewa ili tuweze kuchagua wenzetu kwa njia ya demokrasia. Baada ya haya yametendeka kwa ndugu yetu Dennis Itumbi, Wakenya wameanza kujiuliza demokrasia ile tulikuwa tunapigania iko wapi? Kwa sababu maneno mengi yamefanyika. Hata hivi tunavyozungumza tukiwa wabunge tumeitishwa, tumewachana na familia zetu na zile nafasi ya kuongea na constituencies wetu wakati huu wa muhula ile tumekuwa nao ya kawaida, mwezi wa 11 na mwezi wa 12 na mwezi wa kwanza, ili tuje hapa bunge tuweze kupitisha mswada ule tumeletewa kwa nguvu, na hatuna nafasi ya kusema hatuwezi. Wakenya wanajiuliza demokrasia ile tumepigania tuwe nayo kama Wakenya iko wapi? Kwa sababu hauwezi kuumiza kijana mdogo kama Dennis Itumbi kwa sababu ya mwelekeo wake wa kisiasa. Mimi nataka kusema kwa ufupi kwamba mimi nilikuweko mwaka wa 2002 wakati ule marehemu sasa ule alikuwa rais wa nchi hii mzee Daniel Moi alitaka mheshimiwa the current president mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta awe rais, lakini hatukuona yale maneno yanafanyika sasa. Wakati ule Moi alipendekeza mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta awe rais mwaka wa 2002, na sisi tunashindwa. Sasa huyu ni nani? Wakenya wanalazimishwa, ni lazima wampigie kura awe rais. Na ni nini hii imefanyika katika serikali yetu yenye sisi tunajaribu kuficha kutokana na ule atakuwa rais mwaka wa 2002 kwenda mbele. Mimi nataka kuwa kwa ufupi na niseme kwamba nimekuwa kwa siasa kwa muda mrefu sasa, na nikiona mtu akifanya maneno yale yanafanyika kwa mpinzani wake, hiyo ni kuonyesha wazi kwamba ule mpinzani amemshinda kutafuta kura kwa wananchi. Kura ya kawaida Hustler Nation imewashinda. Sasa wamerudi kuanza kuumiza wananchi na kuanza kuleta sheria zenye hasifai. Mimi nataka kusema kwa ufupi, at the end of the day, yani mwisho wake Wakenya watashinda, na ule wanataka awe rais atakuwa rais mwaka wa 2022. Asante.
In addition, we want to call out and inform the Inspector General of Police that long before he became the Inspector General of Police, and to also inform Mr. Matiang'i that long before he became the Minister of Interior, Kenyans signed the United Nations Convention on Human Rights. Thereafter, we entrenched it in our constitution. Hence the reason why we have a Bill of Rights in our constitution. We established the Kenya National Human Rights Commission for a reason. So these arbitrary arrests, political persecutions, torture, and harassment and torture of citizens is completely unacceptable and has no place in modern Kenya today. We are therefore calling upon the international community, all international human rights organizations, also the local ones, and the Kenya National Human Rights Watch to start stepping up and begin to watch this government, because we are going to an era where they are beginning to plow back on the human rights that had already been entrenched in our constitution. We are saying that if the Kenya National Human Rights Commission does not call out the Inspector General of Police and Mr. Matiang'i, then we shall be asking for their impeachment, because they can no longer serve as commissioners to be able to protect the human rights of Kenyans. We will not find this is not acceptable, and it has no place in Kenya. And going forward, we are calling upon Kenyans to be on the watch and on the lookout for this, because we will not stand by and watch our country go back to the dark days of the late 80s. Thank you.
First of all, we really want to thank God that Dennis Itumbi is alive. It was yesterday evening. Our hearts were filled with trepidation because we didn't know what is happening. And definitely, knowing the kind of people that had abducted Dennis Itumbi, we clearly, most of us, were very filled with misery in our hearts. But we want to thank God because hata kama tuko na serikali ambayo haijali wananchi, tuko na Wakenya ambao pia ni Wakenya ambao wako na utu. Na tunashukuru sana wale ambao waliona Dennis Itumbi jana na wakaweza kumuokoa, na ndio maana sasa ako hospitalini akiangaliwa na wauguzi wetu. But we also want to condemn this regime because over the years, and especially for the last 4 years, we have seen sustained political persecution to those people who can be harassed through KRA. Tunaona ya kwamba wanatumiwa KRA. Wale ambao KRA haiwezi tumwa kwao, sasa wameform squad ya kupiga hao watu, to harm them, even vile tuliona Dennis Itumbi being harmed yesterday evening. Tunataka kukodem hiyo kitendo na tuambia wapinzani wetu, and even those who are being supported by this regime, wacheni siasa ya kutisha watu, fanyeni siasa ya kuuza sera kwa wananchi wa Kenya. And I also want to add that we have no doubt in our hearts on who actually kidnapped and tortured Dennis Itumbi, because hata wakipelekwa kwa gari round walikuwa wanaongea na walkie-talkie. And we know of course in Kenya there are no criminal gangs ambao wanaongea na vifaa ambazo ni za serikali na za polisi. He was also being asked about the things he writes on social media. The kind of things that Dennis writes on social media are not vitu za wananchi wa kawaida, ni vitu ambazo zinaguza ambao wako katika maofisi za serikali. Kwa hivyo Dennis Itumbi was actually kidnapped and harassed by the state. The people who tortured Dennis Itumbi are agents of the state, and we have no doubt about that. Lakini pia tunashukuru ya kwamba ndani ya hiyo state na wale watu ambao wanajaribu kutumia wengi ni hustler nation. I really want to thank our police officers. Most of them are long-suffering Kenyans, law-abiding and peace-loving. Na hao wenyewe hapo beleni wamejaribu kutumiwa na njia ya kudhulumu wengine wetu, na wao wenyewe wanatupigia simu. Even recently, they tried to harm myself, Rigathi Gachagua and Kimani Ichung'wah. The same officers reached out to us na wakatuambia ile kitu inapangwa. So tunashukuru polisi wetu kwa sababu hawaitikii kutumiwa na hii jeshi na hii gang ya kisiasa ambayo imefomiwa na Matiang'i na Kefisho na Eji Mutiabai. Ya mwisho, aipoa, tafadhali mchunguze hii maneno yote. Kwa sababu tunajua saa zingine mnachunguza maneno inakaa sana. Hii ni ya jana tu, tunajua number plate, the same number plate ambayo ama gari ambayo ilichukua Dennis Itumbi. The same number plate is the same ambayo ilichukua wale ambao walitoa maneno ya Lamanda. Ile Kefisho, Sam Gatei, ambaye alitoa maneno ya Lamanda, ile ilipangwa na Kefisho. It is exactly the same number plate. So hii maneno yote tunajua ni serikali. Hata wakitoa maneno hapa, sijui leo wanatoa statement ambayo ni fake. we do not expect you to investigate yourselves. Mutiabai, Kebiso, and Matiangi, through your bosses, you are the criminals. There are no other criminals you are going to investigate. You are the criminals. So investigate yourselves, tell Kenyans you are criminals, but then go ahead. Muache hiyo ujinga ya criminality.
Thank you very much. We want to explain to the people of Kenya why the state is so harsh on Dennis Itumbi and why they wanted to eliminate him last night. It is because within the security forces, within KRA, within the EACC, the Hustler Nation is real, and for all the atrocities that are being planned against the people of Kenya, officers have been reaching Dennis Itumbi to expose the criminal acts before they happen. 2 weeks ago, EACC had been directed to raid by 2 homes and plant arms or drugs or fake currency so that they can put me behind bars. And officers from there reached Dennis Itumbi, and he exposed that scheme, and it aborted. And so many other things are happening. And because within the security forces, 95% of the officers are within the Hustler Nation, they have found a very good avenue to expose the ills that are going on. What we want to ask the DPP, the son of Mutiabai killed 3 people. Today he is caught free. Dennis Itumbi has been pursuing that matter relentlessly, and that is why he was abducted and tortured yesterday. We want to ask Nubu Haji, the DPP, why are you sparing the son of IG Mutiabai? He killed 3 people. These are Kenyans. And today, he walks scot-free because he's the son of the Inspector General of Police. We want to ask President Uhuru Kenyatta, please don't allow the ills and the atrocities that happened during the reign of Kenyatta 1 to happen during Kenyatta 2. It will be very sad if the bad legacy of President Jomo Kenyatta will be the legacy of his son Uhuru Kenyatta. You remember in the 1970s, those of us who were around, what is happening today is what happened then. Kidnappings, abductions, torture, and political assassination. On the 1st of March 1975, J.M. Kariuki was kidnapped in the same style that Dennis Itumbi was abducted yesterday at Hilton by officers who were close to the late Mr. Jomo Kenyatta, driven all the way to Gong Forest, tortured, removed his teeth, and killed in cold blood. And the government tried to cover up that matter. We are asking President Uhuru Kenyatta to confirm to the people of Kenya during his New Year address that the atrocities that happened during the reign of his father will not happen during his reign. We want him to confirm to the people of Kenya that he is not going to allow the political assassinations that happened during the reign of Mr. Jomo Kenyatta to happen during his reign. That is all that people of Kenya are asking. And we want to remind our president with due respect that Kenyans and the people of this world don't remember good things. They remember the last bad thing that you have done. With all the roads that has been done, with all the electricity connection, with all the physical infrastructure that is being witnessed in this country, it will wipe out his legacy if he does not stop the killer squad within the DCI from his illegal actions. People will remember these abductions, this torture. All the good things will be forgotten. So we are asking the president to live up to his constitutional mandate, his oath of office, and call his people to order. They must stop these abductions, they must stop torture, they must stop whatever they are planning to do against people who don't agree with them politically. And we must ask the president to manage politics in the conventional manner. That is reaching out, persuasion, consensus, and concurrence. The use of the criminal justice system has never succeeded anywhere in the world to manage politics. It cannot happen in this country. And finally, even when President Moi tried to force the people of Kenya to elect President Uhuru Kenyatta, he just did it politically. He never sank this low. He never used the criminal justice system to force people to elect his project. He never used the police force to go against those who are refusing to endorse his project. We asked the president to just persuade the people of Kenya to support his project, but not allow the use of the criminal justice system to force the people of Kenya to elect his political project.
Any questions? Something?
Chuka. Three.
Two questions. My name is Chuka.
Five hours before darkness, the message was given around. Has he actually told you which locations he was driven around?
He was blindfolded.
The second question.
The second question is an opponent because he said that there were some officers who were giving you information and they wanted to expose the which was behind this. Why did those officers just tell you the names of these people, or are they waiting for Mr. Itumbi to get killed so as to tell you it was this and this and this?
Let me answer the first one, then we'll come and we'll take the second one. As I said, I spent a lot of time last night until this morning with Itumbi as I was being treated at Nairobi West Hospital. And the indication he gave us, first, there is a time he lost consciousness after the beatings. They handcuffed him from behind, tied his legs with a rope from the front and turned him upside down with the legs resting on the driver's seat and were beating him in that position. He had about 2 or 3 handkerchiefs, according to him, stuffed in his mouth and sellotaped so that he doesn't scream. And therefore, as a result of the pain, he blacked out at some point and he doesn't know for how long. But he was being driven around in that premier that abducted him. At some point, he says he overheard them asking for the logistics people to send double cabs. And indeed, he confirmed, because at the time he was being dumped, he was conscious. They dropped him and they had 2 double cabs, a black one and what seemed like a whitish double cab. At the time he was being abandoned, wherever he was abandoned, somewhere he says must have been in Aquare, because he walked for some distance to find the border guys. The other thing is that they hooded him. At one point, they hit a bump and the hood fell off from his head. And the injury you find on his eye, when the hood fell out, one of them punched his eye and said, "Anatuangalia," and they punched his eye. Then they blindfolded him. So he would not know exactly where he was, but from his description and where he was found at Lucky Summer, we suspect is the quarries in Eastlands, maybe towards Njiru or somewhere.
Were they armed?
They had handcuffs. He says they were armed. They were brandishing. In fact, when they dragged him out, he could not even walk out of the double cab. He was hit with a gun button on the shoulder. If you happen to get an opportunity to see him, and hopefully when he wakes up, the hospital, if the doctors allow, you can speak to him. They hit him with a gun butt at the time they got him out of the car.
Your question was about why those people are not saying their names. Do you really? Are you really serious?
No, you say.
No, I'm just asking. Are you really for real serious?
No, I'm just asking this.
Because I mean, you have asked that question, but I've been thinking to myself. You know the answer. You know the answer that good people who are even in the State House, who give us all this information that Dennis has been sharing, are just doing it and begging that we should not share their names, because it is in the best interest of the Kenyans themselves and the rest of Kenyans and the persons who are affected, that their identity is hidden until when it's safe. Do you know the story of, do you remember the story of Moses, Pharaoh, and the hiding of the children, the story of Herod and children being killed and people hiding their children until Herod is gone? You don't expect them to say their names until Herod is gone. That should be the obvious fact, that if Herod is still in town, he will abduct more children. So one has to be very careful on what he's going to say. Any other question?
I'm told maybe since you're all here, he's just been wheeled into theater. So maybe they are requesting, maybe you're not able to do. They have confirmed his left arm is fractured, and one of the legs, I'm not sure which one, is also fractured.
Left one. The left hand, left one.
Left leg also.
Yes.
So they are saying he will be in theater, so you may not be able to see him now.
Can you talk about the political parties?